Well, it seems the Secret Lair Dan Dan deck sold out within 30 minutes, one of the fastest selling MTG Secret Lairs in history. So what does that mean? Low print run, high demand, something in between? Well, if the online rumors are to be believed, for all you Dan Dan lovers out there, a grand total of 6,327 Secret Lair decks were printed for North America. Assuming each player bought two, some bought more, only 3,164 people ever got a successful order through. This has since been deleted. What does this mean? Is this real? We're going to dive into it right now, and we look at the Secret Lair, the print runs, and what we actually know right now. Hey everyone, I'm the Nerdy Attorney. Thanks for stopping by. We got a great video today, an interesting mystery that I'm excited to dive in with you, and I think you'll be pretty surprised about what we find by the end about this Dan Dan Secret Lair generally. But if you like content like this, that's positive about Magic the Gathering, this game that we love is not relentlessly negative, and looks at the data where we can in order to enforce our opinions, hey, maybe subscribe. Also, if you're looking to sell any of your cards, maybe to afford the next Secret Lair coming up, make sure you check out Card Conduit, the easiest way to sell your cards on the internet. Use code NERDY to get 10% off your fees for any of your trade-ins. And finally, after you sell all those cards and you want to buy some, check out Manapool, one of the best ways to buy cards on the internet. Affiliate link below. It definitely helps the channel out. Let us dive into this mystery here about the Dan Dan Secret Lair. What we do know is that it sold out within 30 minutes. That's been widely reported. So what does that mean? Super low inventory or super high demand? Well, I can tell you about the inventory and demand. People are already selling these as pre-orders on eBay, $235, $240. Some people even pricing out the singles here. Look at this, selling a single Dan Dan for $30 or best offer. Keep in mind, there are 10 borderless foil Dan Dans of two different variants in this deck. Those price points are insane. $229 to $30 or best offer again here. Memory lapse, $15, $300 for the Dan Dan deck. Here we are even more. Now, here's the question, are they selling? And in fact, yes, they are. Look at this, March 16th, 239 sold, 220 sold, 220 sold, and it just continues. Look at all these sales. My goodness, the FOMO has certainly hit hard. We are still getting more sales all the way through page one. Let's continue on to the next. Look at this, continual sales. It began at $199. Oh, we're getting down to the numbers. $199, the scalpers must have thought they couldn't get that much out of it to begin with. $185, and then we get back down. So it began at around $179 was the first sale. They got in early, and then the rest of them started to settle out around the $200 to $230 price point. A ridiculous aftermarket sale for these already, and they just released today at the time of recording. So absolutely stunning here. Clearly a high demand product, but what does that tell us about the Dan Dan Secret Lair and selling out in 30 minutes? And before we dive into the video, a quick reminder, I am a lawyer. I'm not your lawyer, and nothing in these videos, descriptions, comments, anything is legal advice or financial advice. And finally, print runs are confidential and not shared. Nothing in this video comes from a place of knowledge or confidentiality. It is all done with information publicly available as we speculate as to these numbers. Nothing is confirmed here. This is all speculation, all for fun, educational content. Let's dive in. Was there actually only 6,000 of these printed? Is that why it sold so quickly? Well, this is a now deleted post from Reddit that we can dive into a little bit here. We have somebody saying, look, OP is confident but incorrect. And here we are, low stock alert is actually 6,327. So that means that is the threshold by which the online sales system knows to designate this product as a low inventory product when it hits that 6,300 or so amount on the low sell inventory. So this whole post got my mind worrying. All right, well, if it seems like that this post was incorrect, hence why it was deleted, it's not only 6,000. Well, how many were printed? All right, so here comes the thesis. I initially thought, wow, if we can dig into what percentage the Secret Lairs normally have to reach of their total sale volume before triggering the low sale volume requirement here, we might be able to reverse engineer total print runs. So there is one proviso here. I'm imagining that if we discovered this number, the low inventory number for the Dan Dan Secret Lair, surely other Secret Lairs have this as well. But unless anyone in the comments knows better than I was certainly discouraged. I could not find those exact numbers, but what I was able to find was timelines for how quickly other Secret Lairs sold out in order for us to gauge the relative interest and scale of this Secret Lair. So beginning with the Dan Dan, one of the most interesting things noted here is the low stock trigger never procced for people. People didn't see this. That was one of the biggest things reported in my Discord and other locations. People said, this is crazy to think that it reached that 6,000 threshold and sold those remaining 6,000 so quickly that it never actually had time for the website to proc and put these in the low inventory designation to warn people. The sellout speed was about 30 minutes, so it was a very, very sought after secret lair that sold very quick. I myself was lucky to pick up 2 of them, but we were talking about it all day in the Discord, getting people ready, making sure they got into that pre-queue to have the best chance of picking one of these decks up and bringing them home if you wanted them. Me personally, I understand the desire for these things. It's very hard to find a really well-balanced, one-stop shop, 2-player experience in MTG without endlessly trying to tune and tweak decks to make them fair. But when you play with the same deck, that problem is solved. So for me, it was an instant win for when I couldn't get the full play group together, but still wanted to sling some cardboard. But what did our research actually show us? So those are the stats for the Dan Dan product. Let's look at the second most sought after secret lair that I could find over the past 2 years or so, and it's one that I actually didn't get. It's the Monty Python Secret Lair. Man, I really wanted this one. Excellent reprints in it, really great art, and carrying a pretty good premium nowadays to buy the singles. This one sold out in about an hour or so, and I can tell you, I was in that queue. I was waiting. I waited for about an hour, and I had it in my cart. When I clicked purchase, it was too late. Many people have experienced the same thing before, and I still regret not being able to pick up this Monty Python Secret Lair. But sold out the same day. We're gonna give this the same designation of an ultra tight timeline to pick it up. Either it's low print or super high demand. It's hard to tell, but for now, we're just gonna say that it was an ultra tight timeline to pick it up. Now, if we want to discuss the closest analog to Dan Dan that I can think of and that we experienced, it was the Encyclopedia of MTG. We have a November 4th, 2025 article from Greg Monteith from the Cardboard Chronicles saying that it sold out in 3 minutes for $199 for this product. It was an amazing secret lair. I mean, this thing was something to write home about. I was very excited about it, not to mention the Halo foil pulls you can get from it. So here's an analog to the secret lair drop we just had with the Dan Dan. Here's the background for that one. The sale went live 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. They initially delayed the launch by 15 minutes, but eventually, once it went live, it sold out nearly immediately. The Dan Dan is just like that. And then another analog to this, which is a little bit harder to track. I couldn't find any hard data on it, but I was involved in it personally, so I do have anecdotal data. It's the Kieran Yan or Demonic Tutor Secret Lair. This thing broke the internet. People were very excited about it. This was one of the ones where, again, people were selling immediately on eBay. And the foil sold out almost immediately. I think within 30 minutes or less. I was in Target with my family, and I remember going, wait, I gotta stop and order this thing real quick. And I was ordering it while like pushing the cart around. It was very stressful, but we did eventually get it. And that one sold out incredibly quick as well. A very thin timeline there. And once more, no clear data about the sellout trigger actually happening. So again, low inventory or super high demand or a combination of both is probably likely the case. The Sonic Secret Lair, this one I did pick up. I like it a lot. I was shocked to see that it sold within a few hours. It did sell out the same day, but it did have unique mechanic cards, which really did help it out in its sales numbers. And this one we're gonna give a slim designation. In terms of its timeline to pick up this secret lair, it was fairly slim. Now, looking at the cats versus dog secret lair, this was a big one. This one had, you can choose the same reprints with the cat treatment and the dog treatment. They said it would inform a future secret lair down the line. This one also sold out the same day, and I believe the cats won. I have to go back and check. But either way, the sellout speed was the same day, and the low stock trigger was also triggered within the same day. So we did see observable low stock triggers for Sonic and Cats versus Dogs. We did see that with Monty Python, but again, we didn't see that low stock trigger with Dan Dan. I have seen some tinfoil hat conspiracy-minded folks questioning whether or not this actually sold out, or if Wizards pulled it early to get the appearance of high demand and preserve some of their inventory for conventions and for other purposes. But again, that's a complete conspiracy theory. I'm not co-opting it, supporting it, and saying it's real. All I'm saying is the fact that there was no observable low stock trigger is something people have been talking about. As for the Fallout foils, we did see the low stock trigger for most of the sets that same day. Therefore, our sellout speed, we're going to call it variable. It'll be 1 day to a couple days. And that, again, is going to be a fairly slim purchase window for that secret lair. Then we have the Hatsune Miku winter sale. That one didn't get a low stock trigger until about a week later. So this had a very long run, and its sellout speed was incredibly slow. Again, who's to say if it was actually sold out fully or just pulled, but either way, that lasted for almost a week before getting the low stock trigger. 20 ways to win, probably one of the least exciting secret lair commander deck experiences that have been released. This one took several days for a low stock trigger, and it makes sense. It was kind of a mishmash of a deck, not really powerful reprints. I actually skipped this, even though I made it a soft rule. I'd always buy the secret lair commander decks. This one just didn't speak to me. I bought the Soul Ring because I liked the art for that, but otherwise let that deck go to the wayside. This has a slow sellout speed and a long run designation. Now, regarding those more conspiracy-minded folks, when discussing the idea of this being a deliberate pulling of the product at exactly the 30-minute mark when it sold out, is that what happened here? Again, I make no conjecture about that. I'm not going to guess about that. But what we have seen in the past, and based on my research for this video, when there is extreme demand for this product, regardless of Secret Lair, whether it be the Kirin or Demonic Tutor, the Encyclopedia of Magic, or again today or yesterday when this video is posted, the Secret Lair for the Dan Dan, if it sells incredibly fast, there may be no time for this 6,327 low stock inventory number to actually trigger to let people know what's happening. So who knows how quickly 6,000 can be sold with the current infrastructure they use for their sales at WotC and scale fast. So if that means that we're not able to get a clear number on the low stock triggers for what percentage of a set needs to be sold before that trigger is actually shown, then we can't reverse the Secret Lair drop numbers, unfortunately. But what we can do is look at behavior. We know when it sells incredibly quickly, that low stock trigger might never reach the audience's eyes because of how fast a particular product is selling. There's a real chance there was never a meaningful opportunity for the low stock notification to trigger and reach the consumer. So what do we got to talk about now? It's why the Dan Dan drew so much attention, and my goodness, look at this deck. It is just stunning. The fact that we get 10 of the Dan Dans in 2 different treatments, I believe, what is it, 46 borderless foil cards contained within this Secret Lair, the rest in a gorgeous retro treatment, which you know I'm a sucker for retro treatments here. And this is all around a great product, and you can see why people wanted to get their hands on it so aggressively. Here's a great picture of the islands all put together for that lovely panorama. And now, interestingly enough, talking about the gameplay for Dan Dan, I did watch a video, the professor's video, where they played Dan Dan for the first time with Ristic Studies, and he said, technically, if you're building a Dan Dan deck, you get secret bits of information by having non-conforming cards. So technically these 2 different treatments of the Dan Dan swimming, it gives some information about what cards may still be in the deck. Same thing with the islands. Some people get really spiky, I think is the word he used, to say how people might memorize exactly what islands were played, which ones were not, and know their deck down to the exact treatment to get secret information just through incredible memory and recall, to be honest. Thinking of the strategy and recalling all of that sounds like a lot, but either way, there is that one comment on gameplay that I would see maybe diehard Dan Dan players mention, because it was brought up unsolicited in a random video from a year ago. It will likely come back up now. But you know what? When the art looks this good, I don't think we should be complaining. I really like it. So what do we learn? Well, I think the behavior and the interest is the most important part. We know it sold out very quickly. Looking at other Secret Lairs that sell out very quickly, the price history will show you these become sought after products. I think, maybe this is a hot take, but at $230, $240, people who bought those decks at that value will probably be just fine in a couple of months. I would not be surprised to see the sealed Dan Dan selling for $300, $350, even $400 in the coming year. As inventory begins to dry up, quick sales start becoming less frequent, and just sheer supply and demand start driving the price up. And as always, I like to show my receipts when making these sorts of claims. So in the Secret Lair drops that are most closely analogous to this Secret Lair drop with the Dan Dan, we look at the Kirin Secret Lair. Just the Demonic Tutor alone, $130, price is skyrocketing. This is a highly, highly sought after Secret Lair, and supports the theory that if we see this kind of price activity right off the bat, the timeline for its growth is aggressive. Now keep in mind, even after release, it dropped as low as $70. We are probably here-ish for the Dan Dan. We might even be at the bottom for the Dan Dan, and the remainder of it is going to look like this as time goes on, to where we eventually get these major spikes and high-end demand. The other analogous one, the Encyclopedia of Magic, came with 2 of them inside the kit. We're looking at almost $600 for both, making them $300 a pop, nearly doubling the cost at purchase. These did see a drop as low as $463 in January, peaking at $518 in March, and then here we have $468, but that price seems to be broken. I'm not sure what's happening with this chart here, because we see $591 unopened for the price here. Only 5 sold though. So the demand is a little bit lower for this one. I feel like people who wanted to get this are just going to buy the singles now, as the secondary market has priced itself out of a reasonable price point for this product, despite the Halo foils garnering a huge return. You need to look no further than the Halo foil Urza's Saga. Look at this. $450, 33 of them sold. People are buying this, a low price of $399, and then we see here fairly frequent sales, nothing too crazy, but people are buying this absurdly expensive card. We were all chasing the Halo foil Urza's Saga, and my goodness, look at the price. So these are the analogous secret layers that match up with the Dan Dan. I think the Dan Dan is going to be on a very similar price trajectory. I'm sorry, sometimes FOMO is justified. And it's a shame that people couldn't get their hands on this, especially if they queued up on time, especially if they were in that lobby waiting and still couldn't get it. That's how I feel about Monty Python. I did everything right, and I still didn't get my hands on that, which means something in the scaling of the print run and the expected demand doesn't quite line up. But either way, that's the video. That was my investigation. I hope you enjoyed it as we dove into the truth of the claims behind that 6,000 print run. You now have the info, and you now know probably more than you did before entering the video, just like me discovering about these low stock warning triggers, what information we can find online, and what we can derive from that info in order to give us better understandings of the secret layer drops that reach this rare tier of hyper quick sellouts, which portend a very good price history for these products moving forward. So, but that's my thoughts on this secret layer. That's my analysis and investigation of this print run of that ridiculous Reddit headline that just got my mind whirring. Could we find a way to reverse engineer it? Was it high demand or low inventory? My gut tells me it's probably a combination of the two. I found in most things in life, in my profession, whenever, the truth often lies between the two extreme narratives. And when looking at this Dan Dan Secret Lair, I know I didn't even hear of this format until the announcement for the secret layer and those images were leaked. I started researching and realized, wow, this sounds like a cool format. I'd love to get my hands on this. So I was a new adopter of the format, but this is an old format, and there's a lot of Dan Dan diehards out there who really wanted the secret layer. So new adopters, along with old diehards, it's a perfect storm when added with high collectability, new art, duplicates of the new art for a complete flavor win, retro borders on the remaining of the deck. I mean, this thing was going to be a slam dunk regardless. Either way, if you like this stuff, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and I gotta give a giant shout out to our patrons for helping to make this video possible and supporting this community along the way. A huge thanks to our patrons at the associate, council, and partner levels. I really appreciate you. And then we have a giant upgrade from our associate level, fast tracking it to partner, Teacher Johnny at the $20 level, making it to the senior partner and getting himself that sweet Guy's Cradle promo, 1 of 150, custom art made for this. I have the license for it. They will not be reprinted. It's like buying a 1 of 150 legitimate art print, all on an amazing proxy. Teacher Johnny joining in for that. Zach W, Dragon's Den Gaming and Hobbies, and Novian L, thank you so much for being senior partners of this fake little YouTube law firm we got here. And then we got to thank Toucher of Wood, he's a carpenter, at the $50 tier, and a giant thank you to the mad lad Thomas McKinney at the named partner $100 a month tier. We are designing the logo right now. He is one of the 5 named partners, and he'll be receiving a 1 of 5 custom art proxy as a thank you for his support. Not to mention at the $50 tier, Toucher of Wood's going to be getting himself a 1 of 50 Gilded Drake with custom art being made right now. And finally, we're getting toward the end of March. We're giving away for patrons at any level, 0 purchase required, a sealed box of TMNT. And if you are a patron at any of the paid levels, even a $1 tier, you will have an option to have this box opened live for you on stream. So you'll have a video archive of your hits as people root you on, trying to get those crazy pulls, and maybe even getting yourself a doubling season of Trouble in Pairs, and who knows what else from that amazing bonus sheet. Thanks to the patrons. I really appreciate it. All right, that's the video. Be excellent to each other, play paper magic with your friends, and until next time, court is adjourned.